What is up, fellas? We are back for another UFC predictions video for UFC Fight Night. Dolidze versus Imavov. Let's jump right in. Opening up the card at heavyweight, Thomas Peterson versus Jamal Puaguez, or Pogues. I'm gonna call him Pogues. Pogues is easier to say than Puaguez. I'm gonna be going with the underdog. I'm gonna be going with Jamal Pogues here. He's the bigger guy. He has better reach. He's just a better striker. Thomas Peterson's kind of just like a big tub of lard who occasionally falls into takedowns. I don't think he's going to be able to take down Jamal Pogues very easily. Pogues, it's crazy to say this about an unranked heavyweight fight, but he's got decent takedown defense. I think Jamal Pogues does, and I think he's more seasoned. I say that as he's got like two guys in the UFC on his record, fucking Josh Parisian and Mick Parkin, who are two obese men. I think Jamal Pogues is gonna win. I think he can stop Thomas Peterson's takedowns, and I think his hands are just better. He's the bigger guy. I trust Jamal Pogues. Moving up to lightweight, Landon Quinones versus Marquel Medeiros. This is a fight I've gone back and forth on a little bit because Landon Quinones did have a pretty close fight with Nasrat Haqparast. Close is the wrong word. It was competitive, but Nasrat Haqparast clearly won, although he did do some good things in that fight. Marquel Medeiros, watched him on the Contender Series, got a very nice knee finish in the first round. I'm leaning right now Marquel Medeiros. I think he just has a little bit more lethality in his striking and his ability to mix it up on Landon Quinones. Landon Quinones did a good job in the Haqparast fight of mixing up his low kicks well, but at the end of the day, he was getting beat up pretty badly against a guy with a very orthodox style who it's very easy to get reads on, relatively speaking. You know what I mean? You know what's coming with Nasrat Haqparast. It's boxing, and that is legitimately about it. And he wasn't really able to make any adjustments once Nasrat Haqparast started to find his range. And I just feel like Marquel Medeiros is just going to be able to get a finish on Landon Quinones. I think he's just a little bit better on the feet, and I think he has a little bit more finishing potential. So I think Marquel Medeiros is going to get the finish in this fight in rounds 1 or 2 over Landon Quinones. Moving up to women's flyweight, Luana Carolina versus Julia Stoliarenko. There's some names on this card, man. I just can't fucking read. I mean, this is the battle of ass, honestly. I'm gonna go with Luana Carolina. I think over Julia Stoliarenko. Holy smokes, fellas! Can you tell I have not gotten very much sleep? And I know it's kind of a weird pick to go with Luana Carolina, because she got lost to Molly McCann, and Julia Stoliarenko just easily beat Molly McCann. But I think I'm leaning Luana Carolina because I think she's better. I think she has much better stand up than Julia. I think she is able to hold off Julia's grappling because Luan I can't talk. I think she's going to be able to stop Julia Sterling. I think she's going to be able to stop Julia Stolia. I I think Luana Carolina is going to be able to stop and negate Julia Stoliarenko's grappling simply because, you know, when you look into her record, it's pretty ugly. But I noticed the win over Lupi Godinez. And I know Lupi Godinez went up a weight division to fight Luana Carolina. But I think that win still matters, even if she's going up a weight class on relatively short notice. I don't think Stoliarenko is going to get her to the ground and submit her. And I think this is largely going to be a stand-up contest. And I'm going to favor Carolina in that. She's got more reach. I think she's a much better striker. I think she's going to be able to work the clinch on Julia Stoliarenko and win herself a decision in this fight as an underdog. Moving up to featherweight, Ji Young Lee versus Blake Bilder. This is another interesting one because I'm not really sure of the level of Ji Young Lee. I'm pretty interested in this fight. I'm gonna go with Ji Young Lee here over Blake Bilder simply because I just when I watch him fight, I see things that make me think that he is better than Blake Bilder. He's much more technical on the feet. Blake Bilder's striking style is very weird, and he's able to be caught kind of frequently. He was getting caught a lot by Kyle Nelson. He was even getting caught by Shane Young, fellas. Shane Young's catching you on the chin. We don't like that at all. And Ji Young Lee seems to be a pretty good prospect out of Korea. In his fight for the road to the UFC, I can't remember the card it was on, but he fought a guy who was 24-4 and beat him in a close decision. I think Ji Young Lee has the skill set here to get past Blake Bilder. Ji Young Lee's pretty well rounded. When you look into his record a little bit, a nice mix of finishes and decisions. I think he's going to be able to put it on Blake Bilder early in this fight, and I can see Ji Young Lee getting a first round finish over Blake Bilder. However, I do see a world where as this fight drags on, Blake Bilder could, I guess pun intended, build himself up and build up the volume and use his cardio as a weapon because Blake Bilder has quite good cardio. And I'm not entirely sure about Ji Young Lee's. Uh, so I think the longer this fight goes, I think the more it'll end up favoring Blake Bilder. But I'm gonna trust in Ji Young Lee to get Blake Bilder out of there and maybe early round two, I think. Moving up to welterweight, Thimba Garimbo versus Pete Rodriguez. This is an interesting matchup. Um, because Pete Rodriguez is kind of an anomaly to me. I'm really not sure how good this guy is. Uh, UFC debut against Jack Della Maddalena, and he got knocked out. But he competed relatively well, if I'm being honest. Landed a couple of decent shots on JDM, but it's hard to gauge how good this guy is. He knocked out Mike Jackson. Mike Jackson fucking sucks. He's terrible. He seems to have really good boxing, and that's about it. And that's why I think they have Thimba Garimbo as such a wide favorite here in this fight because Thimba, very big guy for the division, very long reach, 6 inches in reach on Pete Rodriguez. But where I see this fight having the biggest mismatch is Thimba Garimbo has a clear grappling upside as far as I'm concerned. And I haven't seen anything from Pete Rodriguez to really show me that he has the ability to defend a takedown or defend a submission attempt. So I'm gonna lean Thimba Garimbo here. I think he's gonna get Pete Rodriguez out of there by submission in like round two. However, I do see value on Pete Rodriguez because I do think he has some pretty nasty stand up and his boxing setups are very fucking clean. I do like watching the guy fight. Also, another thing with Pete Rodriguez that I forgot to mention, he has problems on the scale. Uh, in his last fight, I remember he missed weight and he was like crying. So maybe something to look out for. Moving up to flyweight, Azat Maxim versus Charles Johnson. Fellas, I'm going to be honest with you. I have a problem, a serious problem, and that problem is that I cannot fucking predict a Charles Johnson fight to save my life. So basically, whatever I say here, I implore you, if you are a gambler and you plan on using these picks as some sort of resource for your bets, please fade what I'm about to say because I cannot bet a Charles Johnson fight to save my goddamn life. I have trusted Charles Johnson far too many times, and each time he keeps letting me down. He's like my father. I'm gonna be going with I'm gonna be going with Azat Maxim. Um, really good grappler. His striking's a little bit eh. It's a little bit eh, but Charles Johnson's not exactly a lethal striker on the feet. And to Azat Maxim's credit, his UFC debut was against Tyson Nam, who I think is a much harder stylistic matchup on the feet than Charles Johnson is going to be. Azat Maxim might struggle a little bit if he tries to grapple with Charles Johnson early because Charles Johnson's takedown defense is pretty good. He's a good grappler overall. So as that Maxim might struggle a little bit, but I just can't trust Charles Johnson anymore, man. I think Azat Maxim's gonna get himself a decision win over Charles Johnson here in this fight. Closing out the prelims at women's strawweight, Molly McCann versus Diana Belbita. This card really is electric, fellas. I've seen a lot of people take Diana Belbita, and I've thought about it because taking Molly McCann at minus 280 seems like the most batshit insane thing anybody could do in the year 2024. Uh, but I do think Molly McCann wins this fight. She's beaten Diana Belbita before in like 2019, so that doesn't really matter that much. But the biggest difference between these two fighters is that Molly McCann has power on the feet and Diana Belbita really doesn't. Molly McCann can actually finish people with her striking. Diana Belbita really can't, and I just see this. If I feel like this fight will probably move into the later rounds. And I feel like by that point, I feel like Molly McCann would have done more damage to Diana Belbita just because she has more pop in her shots. And I think Molly McCann's going to win herself a decision here on damage over Diana Belbita here. Maybe like a 29-28, perhaps, methinks. Opening up the main card at welterweight, Gilbert Urbina versus Charles Radke. It's another interesting fight. I'm going to go with Gilbert Urbina simply because Charles Radke, I feel like, isn't very good. I hate to say it because, I mean, he kind of looked like he looked pretty mid against Blood Diamond, man. And I'm just going to level with you. Blood Diamond is straight ass. So if we're not blowing up Blood Diamond, especially when we're kind of a grappler, what the fuck are we doing, Charles? So I'm gonna go with Gilbert Urbina. Moving down to welterweight, huge guy for the division. Gilbert Urbina is gonna be a monster in there. Charles Radke is gonna get absolutely mogged in there. 6'3", 75 inches of reach, and Gilbert Urbina is a guy who can mix it up very well. Pretty good grappling, decent striking. The only thing that gives me pause about Gilbert Urbina is I don't trust his chin very much. Uh, I remember him getting dropped a lot by Treason Gore when they fought at middleweight, I believe it was. But granted, Gore, his whole thing is that he has ridiculous power in his hands. So I don't know if I can use that as too big of a knock on Gilbert Urbina. And besides that, his only like other two losses are to Brian Battle and I believe Sean Brady, who I think both of those guys are much better than Charles Radke is. So I'm gonna lean Gilbert Urbina here. I think he's gonna submit Charles Radke in like rounds 2 or 3. Moving up to middleweight. I've been dreading saying this guy's name this whole time. Aliaskab Kirizev versus Makhmud Muradov. Um, this one I'm not sure about, guys. I'm not sure about the level of Aliskab. I haven't seen enough from this guy to really know how good he is and how he stacks up against a very physical guy like Makhmud Muradov. Uh, General consensus is that Aliskab is going to be able to take down and keep down Makhmud Muradov and probably submit him, but I'm not entirely sold on that. I think this is going to be a harder fight for Aliskab than a lot of people are considering. I'm still going to lean Aliskab over Makhmud Muradov, but I think there might be a little bit more resistance in this fight than people are expecting because Makhmud Muradov, although he's very hit and miss, he's a very, very big, very, very strong, very, very physical fighter in this division, and he can grapple a little bit. I'm not sure about Ali Scobb's cardio. Granted, it's not like Makhmud Muradov is fucking Max Holloway with his cardio or anything, but I worry that Ali Scott maybe blows his wad a little bit too quickly early on in this fight, and Makhmudmuradov starts to come alive in the later rounds here. But I'm going to trust in Ali Scott to do enough in the first 2 rounds to get himself a decision win here over Makhmudmuradov. Moving up to women's flyweight, Vivian Araujo versus Natalia Silva. This is an interesting fight to me just because of how big of an underdog Vivian Araujo is. Natalia Silva, I think, is very, very, very good as a prospect in this division. But minus 350 over Vivian Araujo is kind of crazy to me. I'm going to go with Natalia Silva because I do think she is a little bit better on the feet. However, I do not like this line at all. I feel like there is some treachery going on with this line here. And I can see a fucked up reality where Vivian Araujo might sneak a decision or something. But in all reality, I'm picking Natalia Silva because I think she's a better striker. She's very good at distance management. She's much younger, 11 years younger. I just think she's a little bit better pretty much everywhere than Vivian Araujo. However, Vivian Araujo sometimes just has really good performances and looks good, but other times she just looks really bad. So I can't trust her inconsistency. Natalia Silva, probably by decision, if I were a betting man. Moving up to welterweight, Randy Brown versus Muslim Salikov. I'm going to be going with Randy Brown here. 8-inch reach advantage. Muslim Salikov is fucking 40 years old. Taking Andre Fialho into the 3rd round. Need I say more? I don't think so. But I will. I just think Randy Brown's going to be able to keep Muslim Salikov at a distance with the 8-inch reach advantage. And although Muslim Salikov is dangerous and he is tricky with the strikes he throws, I think Randy Brown is going to be a little too elusive for him. And I think the straight punches of Randy Brown are really going to wear on Muslim Salikov as this fight goes on. And I think Randy Brown's going to score himself like a round 2 or 3 TKO over Muslim Salikov. The co-main event at lightweight, Renato Moicano versus Drew Dober. This is probably the best fight on the card. I'm going to be real with you guys. This is an interesting fight. They have Moicano as a minus 170 after a 15-month layoff. Ew. And I ain't picking him either. I'm going with Drew Dober. I hate to say it too because I really love Renato Moicano. I think this is a rather unfortunate matchup to be coming back into after a 15-month layoff. Because I don't think Moicano is going to be operating at full capacity here after his leg injury. I think this is kind of like where you would want to have maybe like a little bit of an easier opponent than fucking Drew Dober, the Giga Chin himself. I think Drew Dober is going to TKO Renato Moicano. I can see it so clearly. Almost kind of like the Fiziev fight, probably a lot more competitive than that one. Granted, he did good. Moicano did good in the Fiziev fight. It's just he got chinned to oblivion. I just think Drew Dober's going to catch him with his hands extended. And I don't think Renato Moicano is going to be able to take down Drew Dober very easily. I think Renato Moicano could submit Drew Dober if he gets him down. I just don't think he's going to. I just don't think we're going to see a full power money Moicano, and I think we're going to see a full power Drew Dober, and I feel like that's just an unfortunate luck of the draw here, and I think Drew Dober is going to land a clean shot on Moicano and take him out in like rounds 1 or 2, because Drew Dober recently he lost to Matt Frivola, which that'll happen. But besides that, found a way to land clean on Bobby Green. Just annihilated Ricky Glenn, but Ricky Glenn fucking sucks at this point in his career, so who cares? Alves Beast. Yeah, I just think he's gonna get in on the inside on Moicano. Maybe slip a jab, slip a cross, get inside, and just land a clean shot. And Moicano's chin's okay, but I don't think he's eating that shit, to be honest. I'm going to go with Drew Dober like rounds 1 or 2. TKO, I think, over Moicano, unfortunately. And closing out the card with our middleweight main event, Roman Dolidze versus Nasruddin Imavov. I'm going to go with Nasruddin Imavov, guys. I deliberated a little bit, but Roman Dolidze, man, I just don't feel like he's, this could age terribly. I don't even feel like he's that good. Is that bad? I watched his Marvin Vettori fight. Like we're going blood and guts, 3 rounds, striking with Marvin Vettori and losing. We're getting outstruck by Jack Hermanson on the back foot. You know? Ugh. And Nasruddin Imavov is a guy who's very good at counter-striking on the back foot. He's got very nice footwork, very good kickboxer, very big, strong, powerful guy too. His grappling is also quite nice, so I don't think Roman Dolidze is going to have a very easy time muscling Nasruddin Imavov to the ground. I think this is just an unfortunate matchup for him, honestly. We've never seen Roman Dolidze in a 5-round fight either, so we really don't know how his cardio is going to look, because I would like to say maybe as the fight gets into the later rounds, maybe Dolidze can start to maybe get Nasruddin to the ground after a grueling first couple of rounds, but it's an unknown. I don't know. I just think Nasruddin Imavov is a much better striker, much cleaner technique. I think he's going to have an easier time landing on Roman Dolidze. I think he's going to sting him when he does land, because Roman Dolidze just kind of walks forward, plods forward. I just think it's a bad matchup for him. This could age terribly, and I could look like a fool. But I don't think it's going to. I think I'm going to go with Nasruddin Imavov. I think he's going to get himself a TKO over Roman Dolidze in like round 3. But that's about it for this one, fellas. If you enjoyed, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will catch you next time. See ya.